Chair of the Maricopa Association of Governments Population Technical Advisory Committee, and this meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphones when speaking, and for those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items that fall under MAG jurisdiction. And if you would like to comment at today's meeting, please complete the request to speak form. MAG staff can assist with any questions you may have. If you parked in the garage, a validation stamp is available at the counter. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. And hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. Prior to roll call, I would like to quickly welcome Peter Burnett and Noah Guild from MAG, and they have taken over our staffing for this committee and will now serve as your primary contacts for questions or support. And Peter and Noah, would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is Peter Burnett, Socioeconomic Data Manager. A lot of you know me, and I know a lot of you. I've been working with MAG for almost 25 years, dealing a lot with the residential completion data and employment data, which I'll present a little bit of that information to you today later on. Excited to be able to help with this committee and be a resource to you. And let me know if you need anything. Noah?
Good morning, members of the PopDAC committee. My name is Noah Guild. I'm a transportation planner with MAG, work in the data applications function. A few months ago, I was given the opportunity to staff the PopDAC committee. I'm very happy to be here today and look forward to meeting you all and working with you all. Thank you.
All right, welcome, Peter and Noah. Look forward to working with you. I will now begin the meeting with the roll call.
I will now call out your name and agency. Please indicate if you are attending virtually or in person. Chair Bryant Powell, Apache Junction.
Here virtually.
Paloka Belzamo, ADOT.
Here virtually.
Here virtually. Thank you. Cole Hunger, City of Avondale. Andrea Marquez, City of Buckeye.
Good morning. Here virtually.
Thank you. Stacy Bridge Denzak, Carefree. Stephen Peralez, Cave Creek. Sam Andrea, City of Chandler. Jose Macias, El Mirage.
Present.
Thank you. Victor Cantu, Florence. Farhad Tapasoli, Fountain Hills.
Here.
Thank you. Veronica Gonzalez, proxy for Gilbert.
Present, virtual.
Thank you. Alex Lerma, Glendale.
Present.
Thank you. Christian Williams, Goodyear.
You already signed in? Youngtown's always last. Always, every community.
Is Christian M. Williams, Goodyear here?
Go by alphabetical order.
Randy Prock, Litchfield Park. Rodolfo Lopez, City of Maricopa. Rachel Applegate, Maricopa County.
Here, virtually.
Thank you. Kelly Rorex, Mesa.
Present, virtually.
Thank you. Brandon McMahon, Paradise Valley.
Present, virtual.
Thank you. Sarah Dirks, Peoria.
Present virtually.
Thank you. Adam Miller, Phoenix.
Emily Dawson here for Phoenix, virtually.
Thank you. Would you mind saying your name again?
Emily Dawson, I'm our representative.
Got it. Thank you. Nina Arredondo, proxy for Pinal County.
Present virtually.
Thank you. Sarah Clark, Queen Creek.
Present virtually.
Thank you. Brian Myers, Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian Community. Nick Carroll, Scottsdale.
Present virtual.
Thank you. Lloyd Abrams, Surprise.
Present virtual.
Thank you. Vice Chair Jacob Payne, City of Tempe.
Present virtual.
Thank you. Anish Adhikari, Valley Metro.
Present virtual.
Thank you. Dee McGarry, Wickenburg. Okay. Gregory Arrington, Youngtown.
Present virtually.
Thank you. Is there anyone I did not call or anyone who is not able to respond?
Dee McGarry, I'm here, virtual.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And then this is Cole Hunger with Avondale here virtually.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right, Chair Powell, we have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, and we look forward to this meeting. Our next item is call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, informational items or other items on an agenda that are not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call of the public unless the chair requests an exception. And staff, have we received any call to the audiences?
Chair Powell, we have not.
All right. All right, you guys. And the other item here is there any comments that come in to MAG through the website?
Chair Powell, we have not received any comments.
All righty, we'll move on to item number 3, is approval of the meeting minutes. Does any member of the committee have any questions about the minutes? Or any comments about the minutes out there? And staff, have we received any online written comments?
Chair Powell, we have not received any comments.
Thank you. I'll reach out to everybody. Is there a motion to approve item number 3?
Well, we're searching around, we're looking for another power source. The light comes on. I said, wait a minute.
This is Jacob Payne, so moved.
Jacob, thank you. We have a motion, and is there a second?
This is Gregory Arrington with the town of Youngtown. I'll second.
Thank you, Gregory. Now we'll have all those participating in the meeting online to take part of a voice vote by turning on their cameras and then muting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their camera, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call on those with virtual participants who do not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names who are not on. All right, so can I have a voice vote of those in the room online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, any opposed? Say nay. And motion carries. But MAG staff, is there anybody else that you did not see turn on the cameras you need to do?
Just one moment. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, members of PopTech, it looks like we need to ask for votes from Sam Andrea.
So let's go ahead and do those. Sam, is that what I heard?
Sam Andrea, how do you vote?
Sam Andrea. And anybody else? Sam, can you?
Alex Lerma,
I vote aye.
Sarah Clark,
Sarah Clark, aye.
Lloyd Abrams.
Aye.
Thank you. And it looks like we've got 2 entries for Emily, so I think we're covered for Emily Dawson.
Okay.
Great.
All right. We ready to move on to item 4?
Yes.
This is all right. Thank you. Well, this item is agenda item number 4, be presented by Scott Bridwell, Principal Socioeconomic Modeler for MAG. Turn it to you there, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. Good morning, everybody. I am here today to discuss the July 1st, 2025 municipal population update. This is an actionable item. I will briefly discuss an overview of the estimates, discuss the methodology. Then I'll be happy to field any questions or concerns, and then we'll go ahead and ask for a motion to adopt and move up the committee process. Okay, so the 2025 municipal population update, this is required per Arizona State Executive Order. And this is something that we do every fiscal year in cooperation with the Office of Economic Opportunity, specifically with the State Demographer's Office, Jim Chang at the Office of Economic Opportunity. And then we also coordinate with the Central Arizona Association of Governments, and they provide data for Pinal County cities, and they also have feedback for our estimates as well. So the estimates that we develop them for Maricopa County, Pinal County, as well as the Wickenburg portion in Yavapai County. And we also develop them for the county balance, and we will begin doing that for Santan Valley as well going forward. We have some breakouts that are not included in these estimates for today, but they're available if anybody has interest in them going forward. So some of the applications that these will be used for, they use for home rule. That's one of the big items that they get used for. We'll use these as the base for our projections that are coming up. So in the base year of our projections, the city totals will, or the data will be controlled to the city population totals. We use these for membership dues in our work program. And then also we use these to support different types of member agency requests and also different types of analyses. So in terms of the data sources and getting into the methodology, there's really kind of 3 predominant groupings that we have. The first is the Census 2020. This is really everything works off of that. That's our base. And from this, we're basically trying to make updates or append to the population and households, the population and group quarters, and then also the occupancy characteristics. In terms of the update itself, there's, again, 2 levels that we're looking at. There's a county level update. This is primarily done by OEO, and they're using a method that uses births and deaths, school enrollments, MVD license data, as well as Medicare and Social Security enrollments. And then when we get to the municipal, or what I call the place level sometimes updates, it's primarily driven by residential completions, annexations, and changes in group quarters. So the formula is pretty simple. The total population is developed based on the population and group quarters and the population and households, and those get developed independently of one another. In terms of the group quarters, again, The majority of the information is coming off of the census, and we are simply trying to make adjustments where we have data that we are tracking. So an important characteristic here is that there is a number of agencies that provided updates via the post-census group quarters resolution program. And what this effectively does is it changes the base year 2020 group quarter counts. So we update the base with those PCGQR updates, and then we track facilities every fiscal year to try and monitor changes in the group quarters population. There's no attempt here to make a full accounting of all group quarters. We tend to focus on the big ticket facilities, things like dorms and prisons and larger nursing homes. So essentially we take and we compare what the inventory is in the current year, 2025, versus what the inventory was at the same time in April 2020. And I mentioned before, there are a few agencies that made requests via the post-census group quarters resolution program. Florence, Goodyear, Tempe, and Phoenix. These are the amounts that got accepted by the census. And the thing that's kind of worth noting is that we've made different assumptions throughout the last couple of years, because the census will indicate that they accepted the request, but it's taken them a while to tell us exactly how much of that request did they accept. And so up until this year, we were using 3,550 for the city of Phoenix, which is what they submitted. But it turns out that the census only accepted 224. So if you're looking at estimates from last year or prior years, you might see a little bit of a reduction for Phoenix and also for the county as well, just because of this change in what got accepted for this program. So in terms of the methodology for the household population, there really is two independent kind of levels of accounting that are taking place, and then we reconcile those in the end. There's a place level or the jurisdictional level methodology, and then there's also a county level methodology. So the place level methodology is kind of a bottom-up approach. So for every jurisdiction, we are looking at the housing unit completions along with the census occupancy factors, and from that then deriving a place level household population. At the county level, and I'll get into this in a little more detail, the state demographer's office is using what's called the modified composite method. And so this is being developed for every county within the state. And so in order to reconcile these two, then we then sum up the results from the place level and compare those with the top-down method that the state demographer's office is coming up with. And those are then averaged to derive an overall county control. And so in this current iteration, to do that averaging, it's a weighted average. 65% of that is coming off of the county level, coming from the state, and 35% is coming from the bottom-up place level. And the reasoning behind this is really that as you are progressing further out from the census, there's more likely to be changes in the occupancy factors, and ideally, those are being captured then by the county level administrative records approach. So now that we have this, we then apply a benching process where all of those original place level estimates are then updated so that their sum matches that county level control. And now we have household population. Okay. So how the county level composite method works is they take the cohorts, or they take the population and they try to break it into specific cohorts, and then tie specific administrative records to those cohorts. And then in order to do this, they look at the percent change within those records from the last year. So the first cohort that they look into is age 0 to 4, and that's looking at births, and then in doing so, removing the deaths among infants that occurred during that time. The second bucket is age 5 to 17, and for that, school enrollment is the primary indicator that's used. The next cohort is age 18 to 64, and for this, MVD license and ID information is used. And then finally, age 65 plus, we're using an average of Medicare and Social Security information. So from that is then derived the total population, and then subtracting out the group quarter population, you have the household population at the county level. So to give you an idea of how these components are kind of shaking out over the last few years, you can see this is looking at both Maricopa County and Pinal County. And so you can see there's been kind of a downward trajectory in terms of the surviving births that we've had in Maricopa County over the last 5 years, with a slight rebound, about a 0.21% change over this last year. There's a little bit different story in Pinal County. They've seen a steady growth in this population, and there's about a 4.86% change that's happening there. At the 5 to 17 level, it's been complicated a little bit by the recent empowerment scholarship accounts, basically the voucher program. So within Maricopa County, there's been a fairly sustained decline, I would say, over the last few years, and I think this is largely attributed to the drop in fertility rates that we saw in the previous decade. And another complicating factor is in 2023 and 2024, we now have these ESA accounts that have to be accounted for. And so that's maybe causing a little bit of a drop here as well. In Pinal County, you can see again, coming up from the pandemic, there's pretty sustained growth in 5 to 17 with this enrollment here. On the driver's license, there's increase in both counties with a little bit larger increase on the Pinal County side than on the Maricopa County side. And a similar story exists with the population 65 plus. So within the Medicare and Social Security data, there tends to be it's a growing population, and there's similar growth trajectories between the two counties. So that's the overall composite level method. The housing unit method, again, this is something that we're doing at the jurisdictional level. And in order to get this, we first update what the housing stock is. So we get the residential completions that you guys provide us. We get the annexation information that you guys provide us. And then we can then come up with a fiscal year 2025 housing stock. Once we have that, then we then multiply the non-annex growth by the Census 2020 occupancy factors. The annex growth, we actually track the population, not just the units. So for that, we'll just bring the population straight in. And then once we have this, we have what we call the unconstrained HUM result. And we will then apply that ratio that we get from the composite level control total to then adjust those. And so when we do this adjustment, we're actually not adjusting on the total population. We're adjusting on the growth over the previous year. So in terms of housing to growth, again, this really is the primary driver that's behind the place level approach. You can see that there's been really heavy growth this year. I think this is the largest number of completions in Maricopa County since I think like 2006 or 2007. So we're definitely seeing large growth in the housing stock, and the same thing with Pinal, a very large jump in the housing stock there as well. An interesting thing to note with Maricopa County is that a large percentage of these are actually going to build to rent. So things like apartments and single family complexes versus, in previous years, it was more driven primarily by single family growth. So here's a county level summary of the results that we're looking at this year. In Maricopa County over last year, we're looking at a change of about 58,000-ish. And like I said, this is a draft that will have modifications made to it, and it's looking like probably another 4,000 will be added to the Maricopa County total when all is said and done. Pinal County is looking at around a 17,000 growth. So overall, for the MAG MPO, we're looking at about 70,000 this year. And with that, we will go ahead and take questions and then go ahead and ask for a approval of these estimates. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions from the PopTech committee members? This is an action item, and but before we do the vote, I have not received any other requests for to be talk on this item. Staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda?
Chair Powell, we haven't not received any comments.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the draft July 1, 2025 municipality resident population updates for the MAG member agencies, provided that the statistical area control total is within 2% of the final control total? Anybody want to make a motion?
This is Lloyd Abrams, City Surprise. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Lloyd. Got that. And is there a second out there?
Emily Dawson, City of Phoenix, I'll second.
Thank you, Em. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Is there any opposed? Please say nay. Thank you, thank you. Members, please keep your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
All right, when I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Sam Andrea. Okay. Sarah Clark.
Aye.
Okay. And Sam Andrea, I don't know if I just didn't hear you. Oh, okay. All right.
Everything looked good. All right. Well, we've now approved the draft July 1, 2025
Oh.
municipal resident. Oh, is there more? Sorry.
Sorry. Lloyd Abrams, surprise.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Apologies for that.
Okay, I apologize too. Thank you, everyone, for that. It's a big deal. And thank you, Mac staff and Scott, for the presentation. We'll move on to item number 5. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Jesse Ayers, a socioeconomic modeling manager. Jesse.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the PopTac. I'm here today to give you a preview of our upcoming population projections. This is something that, similar to the population estimates, is something we do on a schedule, and it's coming up starting late this year and early next year. So I'll start with the what's and whys of what we're doing. First of all, what we're doing is we're projecting population by various types of resident, group quarters population, seasonal, and transient. We're also projecting single and multifamily dwelling units and employment by industry sector and land use sectors. We're going to be doing this for all of Maricopa and Pinal counties for 2024 through 2060, every year in between. The reason that we're doing this primarily is because of the executive order just mentioned a few minutes ago. This executive order states that we have to do projections 3 times per decade. And this is the second time this decade that we'll be doing this. Beyond the executive order requirements, the travel demand model here at MAG and the air quality model for that matter are very sophisticated and have big data requirements. So that's another reason that we're doing this. And as well, at any given time, there could be between 8 and 12 various studies going on here at MAG, driven sometimes by member agencies and consultants, occasionally driven by MAG itself. And we do a lot of support for these. We have some tools that can allow us to set up certain scenarios, and that's really helpful for that work. So I'll be going over some key dates that are coming up this year and next. First of all, what we've been doing so far, we're currently working on is developing our base year database. Our base year this year is going to be 2024. Although we will have a lot of data in there for 2025 as well. We don't have enough. It won't be complete enough for us to use 2025 as our base. So 2025 will be partially projected. We spend an awful lot of time developing this base year database. Most of our time goes into this. Although we're going to be projecting out 35 years, which is a long time, there's 150 or 200 years of development in the base year database. So if we don't spend our time getting that right, then what goes forward is unlikely to be right as well. So we're going to be working on the base year database basically up until we click go on the first draft of projections. So this is something that we just keep doing until we can't do it anymore. Next up in November and December 2025, Sometime after this meeting, you're going to be hearing from Peter. We'd like to meet with you and your staff this fall to go over our base year and our known developments data. We collect known developments from member agencies and some third-party data sources, and these are a big input into the projections. And meeting with the planners, this is proven before we start the projections in the past, has proven to be really helpful for us to get the base year right in the first draft. Something else we're going to be doing this fall, this is something we've never done before. This is new. Our socioeconomic projections model is called AZ SMART. Arizona's Socioeconomic Modeling and Reporting Toolbox is what that stands for. We're going to be engaging with a consultant, Cambridge Systematics, and they are going to help us organize a peer review of our internally developed model. So we're going to be flying in some of our peers from other MPOs and at least one consultant, and spend a couple of days going over the model, going over the details, and we'll get a detailed report out of this and with recommendations. So this is something that we've been wanting to do for some time, and we're going to get this fit in before the end of the year. Another couple of key dates late this year. We're going to start getting draft county level control totals from the state demographer coming up. We're already starting to see them. So that's coming up right away. And then by the end of this calendar year, that is when the state demographer is required by the executive order to give us county level control totals, which we will then start in January, taking down below the county level. So that's key dates the rest of the year. Next year, it's going to be busy for sure. Sometime in February, we're going to be coming out with draft one of our sub-county projections. And once again, we'd like to meet with you and your staff sometime around that time frame and go over the first draft of projections in a meeting, whether that's virtual or in person. It helps for these meetings. We really like to get not just planners in the room, but just as many city staff as we can from different departments to get their eyes on things. It tends to be really helpful to get the various departments together and look at the projections. Lots of questions come up, and it tends to be a really good discussion. So after we take your feedback from draft one, we'll go and do a draft two, planning on having this out by March. You know, we in the past few cycles, draft two has become the final draft for a lot of member agencies. Occasionally we'll do a draft three for certain members if needed, if there are still issues with draft two. Draft two, we don't always meet in person. I think last time we put up an online interactive map to get comments from you folks on, which seemed to work out pretty well. Again, in April, we'll do a draft three if anybody needs it. But our goal is to get back here to PopTac in May and through management and regional council by June. And that is what's coming up next year. And with that, happy to answer any questions about the upcoming process.
Thank you, Jesse. Any questions? Jump right in.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. It's great to see the work being done. And I really appreciate the reminder, Jesse, that the reminder for us all that if we can help coordinate having as many members of staff there when the time comes, sounds like that's really, really fruitful.
Yeah, it is. It tends to be very helpful to get input from the various members of the various departments in the cities. We found that in some of those meetings that a lot of these folks don't talk to one another too often, and so it tends to be a lot of good discussion even internally for the city. So thanks again.
Yeah, I know there's probably a meeting before the meeting and a meeting after the meeting when we all get together as cities or our own teams. Great. All right. Well, we'll move on to item number 6. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion, and will be presented by Peter, Socioeconomic Data Manager. We'll turn it to you, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the PopTac committee. Happy to be here to present this information to you today. Just want to give a little background of this report and what it is and how it's developed. So there's a little bit of history. The past several years, we've presented economic and housing type updates and demographic updates to regional council and management committee and so forth on a yearly basis. This year, we decided to formalize some of that information that we've presented into a report. The report itself, by having a report, it allows us to put a lot more data into it, more of a comprehensive information for everybody. The report itself, it's a great tool for policymakers, for business leaders, community stakeholders to look at emerging trends and challenges that we see in the region. Now, when I talk about the region in this report, for purposes of this report, what I'm really talking about is Maricopa County and Pinal County as a whole, not just the MAG MPO. You'll see a lot of census data, but a lot of other data that Scott has talked about and Jesse with their projections and estimates and housing. I'm going to show some of that information. Because there's so much information, over 40 tables, charts, graphs, I'm only going to present a little bit of information and then give you the resource to be able to go look at the report as a whole later on. The report itself is divided into 4 different sections: demographics, housing, workforce and economy, and working in the region. And like I said, I'm just going to give a sample of each of these sections for you today. Starting with demographics. Scott mentioned a lot of this population and what's going on with the population. I'm going to look backwards about 13 years. This is using, we use 13 years because we used the census data a lot. This is using data from MAG and the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. What you see here is really what's driving the population. So first off, that gold line that you see on the graph is the population year-over-year growth. The lighter green and gray bars represent the births and deaths. And as you can see over time, they've stayed mostly steady and not affected the population a whole lot. What's really affecting the population is the overall net migration. Now, I want to point out back in 2010 and 2011, we had negative net migration, people leaving the region. But as you can see on the gold line, we still had positive increase in population because we had more births than deaths. But as you move on in the years, really starting in 2012, you see the darker green, where the net migration has really influenced the population growth in the region. From 2010 to 2023, we grew by about 20%, and we're going to grow by about 42% from 23 up to 2050 to 7.2 million. So you see a slight decline in the population increase. It went down about 1% from 22 to 23, but with how large the region is, we're still growing by almost 100,000 every year. So then let's look at another aspect of demographics with the aging. What you see here in 2010 is kind of more of a traditional age pyramid with female and male on each side and looking at the age distribution. It has a kind of a nice pyramid shape. The median age back in 2010 was 35 years old. When I shift to 2023 on this next slide, you see that football shape change, or excuse me, the pyramid shape changes more into like a football shape. Now, for reference purposes, I left the gold lines on the graph there so you can see 2010 and compare that to 2023. And you see that shrinking down in the lower ages and the increasing on the upper ages. The median age increased over time from 35 years old to 38 years old. Big changes that we saw in the population 65 and over was increased by 67%. Population under 5 decreased by 11%. So there's something to be aware of as we're seeing an aging region. Looking at race and ethnicity in the region, also a big stat to look at and see is that the minority population changed from 41% to 48% from 2010 to 2023. The graph on the left is the current makeup of the race and ethnicity in the region as of the latest census data that we had. So some takeaways from the demographics section. We're seeing steady population growth. It is an aging region, but also becoming a more diverse region. So now as I move on to the housing section, we all know housing prices are high. And what's going on with these prices? Okay, so they really peaked in 2022. You see a slight decline on those housing prices down to almost 450,000. From the latest check that I did, this again, mind you, this report was done earlier in the year. The median prices of 2025 in the region went up to about 455,000. So it's really stabilized. It's gone up a little bit, but not to that peak that it was at in 2022. Mortgage rates continue to be high. I just looked this morning. They are down slightly to about just below 6.25, but still higher than they were back in 2021. All of this is affecting movement of homes and home sales and where people are going. People are locked into their lower interest rates, their lower prices. This is happening across the country, and it's affecting movement in our region and other areas, and that's affecting some of that net migration and a little bit of that slowdown that we're seeing as well. This next graph here probably is the most telling graph of the housing section. Jesse and Scott, their group, helped put this together. The darker blue line represents the median household income over time. That lighter blue line that you see is the household income needed to afford a median priced home. Now, when I say afford, what am I talking about? What I'm really saying is just spending less than 30% of your household income on housing. But what we saw in 2021 was really the tipping point where that household income needed to afford that median priced home surpassed the median household income in the region. So the median household income needed to afford that median priced home that I was talking about, $450,000 in the region. So really to afford that, you need $122,000 median household income. So moving on from housing sales to rentals. And what you see here is the MAG region in the blue line compared to our peers. Kind of in the middle of the pack, everybody kind of increases. MAG region had a sharp increase and then a decline. So the rent prices, this is adjusted for inflation, really have stabilized back down to close to $1,500. And the median asking rent in the fourth quarter of 2024 was $1,600. Now, some of that decline in pricing, what's attributing to that is what Scott mentioned earlier in his presentation. We saw in the region in 2023, for the first time ever, multifamily construction surpassed single-family construction in the region. So that's helped stabilize some of these rent prices. Now, even with that stabilization of rent prices, this graph really shows the cost of burden of housing, really. That orange line represents renters, and you see more than half of all renters spend more than 30% of their income on housing. That's really been an issue since looking back to 2010 is about 50%, with a slight break in 2019, but back up to 52% in 2023. So that's 52% renters who are cost burden. Now, the blue line is representing homeowners, less burden for the homeowners, down to 21% in 2023, spending more than 30% of their income on housing. Now, be mindful that what we're talking about is these homeowners. This isn't the home buyers on this slide. It's people that have locked into the lower interest rates and their lower lower prices on their housing. But when you look at the cost of buying a home, it is a different story. What we saw from some census data is the average age of a home buyer from 2010 to 2024 went up from 43 years old to 50 years old. Now, this is not first-time home buyers. It's just all buyers in general. So what's this really showing us, though, is that it's just taking longer to save up for a down payment or sell your home and buy another home and have that equity to buy another home, so that age is going up. So some takeaways from the housing section: high housing prices, but they are stabilizing or stabilized for the moment. Multifamily construction is strong, but then rental prices have eased slightly in the region. Okay, moving on to the workforce and economy section. Let's start first with the median household income. What we saw back in 2017 was a divergence where the MAG region started outpacing the US and Arizona in median household income. In fact, in 2023, the MAG region was about 8,000 or 10% higher than the US and Arizona, with the MAG region median household income being about $86,000 in 2023. And when I do want to preface, when we're talking about household income, we're talking about multiple income earners living under the same roof or same household. When you compare it to our peers, looking at a 10-year period, 2013 to 2023, with the exception of San Diego, the MAG region outpaced its peers and grew. The median household income increased by 27% in the MAG region. Now, this next graph kind of compares the household income to median worker earnings. And I know they're not really comparable because you're talking about multiple earners in a household versus a single earner. But I left on this graph the median household income for reference, so you can see the increase there. Both of these lines are adjusted for inflation. What was interesting, the worker earnings over time, this graph is since 2017, they had a nice up curve and showed increase in the earnings, but the moment you adjusted for inflation, they kind of turned into more of a flat line. And what you see here is the household income since 2017 increased by 12.6%, but the earnings themselves only increased by almost 6%. So not as much increase on the worker earnings, even though you might have thought that looking at it before adjusting for inflation. So some takeaways from the workforce and economy section. There's stronger median household income growth in our region. They're outpacing our peers. We're seeing wages lag behind that same growth that household income had. And now working in the region section. What I'm showing here are the top 10 industries for the region. And what was interesting is when those top 5 that are highlighted in red, 51% of all jobs in the region are in those top 5 industries. We've seen an increase in 50% of employer locations since 2010. Now, just outside of the top 10 is that we saw a major growth industry in manufacturing. Since 2020, we've seen about a 26% increase in manufacturing, or there's about 16,000 jobs that were increased in that section. So construction space is also growing, and especially that the reason why I mentioned that manufacturing is because you look at industrial space that includes warehousing, transportation, manufacturing. We've seen exponential growth in that industrial space compared to office and retail. In fact, an interesting point here is in 2022, we saw a huge increase in industrial around the 303. About 20% of all industrial was within 2 miles of the Loop 303. Now, just to highlight the connectivity to the region, really 77% of all commercial buildings are within 2 miles of a major transportation corridor. 80% of all jobs are within those same 2 miles of those high transportation corridors. Now let's talk about foreign direct investment. MAG has been monitoring and collecting data on foreign direct investment since 2015. Currently, in our latest database, the top 5 countries show there: Canada, UK, Japan, Germany, and France. We've seen an increase of 55% in FDI employment in the region since 2015. Now, of course, you can't talk about foreign direct investment without talking about TSMC. In 2020, they made an initial investment of $12 billion, and that investment has since climbed to $165 billion. When they are fully up and running, that'll add 6,000 jobs. And at that time, Taiwan will be in the top 5 in foreign direct investment as far as countries go. And TSMC will be the single largest location of foreign direct investment workers in the region. So some takeaways for working in the region: industries continue strong growth. There's growth near transportation corridors, and FDI is fueled by major TSMC investments. So that's a very brief overview of the report that we created and presented earlier this year. The report itself, as you can see, is meant to be viewed in booklet form. And we invite you to review the report and look at it. Like I said, there's over 40 data, charts, graphs, and tables in there. But with that, that concludes my presentation. If you'd like to look at the report, you can find the report on our About page on the MAG website, or use the QR code to go directly to the PDF of that report. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate this. And I've seen that report. It's a great report. You guys have done a great job, the team there. And I just wanted to ask one question on slide 38, and then I'll open it up here. I don't know if we can go back to that one. It's kind of one of these where over time, it would be fun to measure. And I know this is kind of what we're doing here at PopTech, is the goal, as I see it, it would be to get us back in alignment with or move towards the idea of having this one. For me, this is a killer because it really does show just the gap in 2021, what happened and how much pressure it puts on households. Is there a way to start, if we were to, as a region, want to set the goal that in 5 years, how do we get the trajectory back? I'm not saying that's what we do, but I think we could help highlight that to the decision makers and to MAG management, and then also our regional council. That one of the real impactful things that if we were to wave a magic wand and say 10 years from now we were back where we were in 2018, for example, is that something that we would try to bring up or highlight at the management level, or maybe at another day?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the PopTech. That's a great question. In fact, that question actually came up during my presentation to the regional council on, how do we do this? How do we address the affordable housing? That magic wand that you mentioned is if we had one of those, it would be amazing. to bring it to attention, to give you an example, I presented, and let me back up just a second. The data that I'm presenting here, I've presented to a few different cities, to some leadership teams, to their cities, and to city council, and be happy if you need me to come present this information to your different member agencies, to your cities. I'd be happy to do that. And that is part of bringing this issue to the attention that you talked about, right? Do we have that answer necessarily in this meeting for PopTech for you right now in that magic wand? I wouldn't say that we have that answer, but bringing that to people's attention is an important issue. And the more we can get this out, the word out that it needs to be addressed, it needs to be looked at, it needs to be something that we create policy for or solutions for, is important. And I think raising the issue and showing these kind of data and slides is important. So yes, to summarize what I'm saying is, yes, we can bring it to attention to anybody that would like more information. Please share this out, take that report and share it out. But yeah, to have that magic wand, I don't have, but to help raise the issue, we can certainly do that.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. And I appreciate the opportunity to have you come out. And we've talked about that too in our city to try to help our community understand this. Any other questions from the committee for Peter? Or maybe comments?
This is Andrea from the city of Buckeye. We are actually working on our housing action plan, and I have looked at the agenda for today, and I appreciate this report as well because it helps me answer some of those questions that we get from council and also our residents on, why are we doing a housing action plan? It will be our first one. So a lot of these numbers I thought I was going to have to look up, and just perfect timing. So thank you for all of your help, and thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all of your work.
And I want to point out that we also, as far when I've given this presentation to the different cities, I do tailor it also and highlight some certain points of data for individual cities as well. So Andrea, if you need some assistance pulling some of that data for Buckeye, I'd be happy to help with that. One caveat to that though is pulling some of the past data has proven difficult during the government shutdown. The data that's generally available to us has not been available. So there might be some data points until the government's back up and running, the federal government, that may not be available right away.
I appreciate that. I might be reaching out to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. That's great. Great to know. Perfect timing. Love it when a plan comes together like that. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to see too in time, Peter, and then we'll move on here. Just the ability for us to kind of historic for the Phoenix region or MAG region to hear that multifamily is more than single family, and what the impact that may have on the supply of housing as it works through the system.
Definitely.
All right. Well, again, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Peter. And we'll move on to item number 7. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion, and will be presented by Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the PopTech Committee. As you know, the positions of chair and vice chair change annually. As this is our last PopTech meeting, I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Chair, for your time and commitment to chair the PopTech Committee. Thank you for all your help and assistance with this. I'd also like to say that as we approach the new year in January, Jacob Payne will move from vice chair to chair. Thank you, Jacob, for being willing to help with that. And then I also am pleased to report that we are aware of one member agency that is submitting in the process of submitting a letter of interest for the vice chair position. And as we receive that, we will be submitting that to the management committee for approval for the PopTech vice chair. So thank you, everybody, for your assistance and time. We understand the sacrifice and just really appreciate your involvement with MAG and with the Population Technical Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for all the help. It's been great. And Jacob, thank you for stepping up here. It's gonna be good. The next item is item number 8. Requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests from the members for an opportunity to have that item up for MAG PopTech? And Peter, remind me if there is something somebody does think of later, can they email you? How do you guys take that?
Certainly, Mr. Chair, thank you. Definitely email me anytime. Noah and myself are here for resources for you. So please reach out with any questions and any way that we can help you. But yeah, if there's anything you want to discuss in future PopTech meetings, send me an email. Jesse just outlined some things that are coming up for PopTech that are going to take up quite a bit of the agenda with projections, and we're excited to see the results from that. But if there are other items that you have of interest, we're happy to help.
Yeah. What time is appropriate, Peter, for census to connect, or do they ever come to PopTech and start? Is that still a little bit off?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Census activities are ramping up, and PopTech will be crucial in helping with that. The first thing that we are aware of that is coming up sooner than later is Luca. As far as having somebody come from the census, we have done that in the past. That's something that we can certainly look into and reach out to have them share some of that information, especially as those activities start to ramp up.
Thank you. Excellent. All right, I will move on to item number 9. Are there any comments or announcements from the membership? All right, well, hearing none, 2026 meeting schedule for the PopTech Advisory Committee is being developed, and it's going to be shared to everyone when finalized. And with no further business today, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and thanks for your inputs.
Thank you.